Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. 20-year-old Jackson Chourio hit 2 home runs for the Brewers last night. Tone, what were you doing at the age of 20?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. It was the jazz age. I was wearing my zoot suit to speakeasies.
Ooh.
I love that word, speakeasy.
Speakeasies
I love
are back.
that.
Speakeasies are back. My favorite one is
Really?
probably in Scottsdale in the living room. Yeah, gotta have a password.
Really?
I joined the speakeasy, paid the membership in San Francisco.
Wait,
watch out.
What are
Watch
you
out,
talking about? What are you
speakeasies,
making,
baby.
Are you making bathtub gin, which
No,
they had at
I don't do
speakeasies?
gin.
You don't even drink.
No,
you don't
right.
drink at
all. Of course
all.
you know that.
You know,
Music.
speakeasies.
Lounges.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Mets face the Brewers, the Padres will meet the Dodgers, and Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with baseball, and the Kansas City Royals quickly dispatching the higher-seeded Baltimore Orioles. The scores were 1-0 on Tuesday and 2-1 last night. So the Orioles scored 1 run at home in 18 innings. Their vaunted young stars, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, 1 for 15, 1 single, no RBI. Wilbon, do you see the bigger story here as the Royals' success or the Orioles' failure?
The Royals' success, Tony, for a couple of reasons. Just 2 very brief reasons for me. Bobby Witt Jr., right? What is he, the second or third best player, third at worst, best overall player in Major League Baseball today? He is featured in that lineup, and he's a star you can, fix your eyes on and say, wait a minute, I want to watch this kid, and you get an eye full. And the other thing is, the Royals lost 106 games last year. Come on. To rebound from that, I know the Orioles have been doing a slow build, and they've been very impressive, though the postseason has not been their friend the last couple of times around. But losing 106 and then going to winning a wild card series, mini series as it is, to me, Tone, that's every reason to give the Kansas City Royals at least a golf clap.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. signed a contract which is going to keep him there for 14 years. So if you want to keep your eyes on him, you can keep your eyes on him in Kansas City. He led all of baseball this year in hitting, 332 rather. He is the best, he's the third best player in baseball behind Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. I'm partial here because I root for the Kansas City manager, Matt Quatraro, because he listens to my podcast, which I find thrilling. And you're right about 106 losses to 76 and making the playoffs. But, Mike, if I put my sports writer hat on, I think the bigger story is the Orioles.
Why?
The Orioles, I'll tell you why. The Orioles went from 52 wins in 2021, then 83, then 101 last year, and they looked like the great young team ascending. The general manager, Mike Elias, had put together a bunch of really young, talented players, and you thought that window was opening very, very wide. They went down to 91 wins this year. They're inert in the playoffs. They lost all 3 last year to Texas. They lost both this year to Kansas City. And now it somehow feels like the window's closing before it actually opened.
They shouldn't have all these playoff teams. The 162-game season means nothing anymore. So you get in, and it's, it's a crapshoot.
Well,
that's what it's like.
That happens,
let's be like the NBA
then
and the
Royals
NHL.
Wouldn't be in.
It's really dumb.
No.
It's really dumb.
They're not even close. The NBA has 20 playoff teams.
Dumb. You don't need as many playoff teams in baseball. The surprising Tigers, meanwhile, swept out the Astros. Detroit's Andy Ibanez was called on to pinch hit against Josh Hader. Bases loaded in the 8th. He delivered a double that cleared him and won yesterday's game. Tony, you more focused on the improbable success of the Tigers or the end of the Astros streak of 7 straight trips to the ALCS?
All right, there's a common thread here with both teams, and it's A.J. Hinch. He manages the Tigers now. He used to manage the Astros. He was not thrown out for no reason. He knew he lost that job at Houston because he knew there was cheating going on. But this series sort of establishes him again as one of the great managers. Mike, there are people I've talked to that you know well in baseball. Richard Justice, Tim Kirchin, Buster Olney. They think this guy may be an all-time manager. And I'll give you a statistic to show you what he's working with here. These Tigers, the 26 players on the roster for these games, combined, they make $18.8 million. 26 guys, 18.8. 62 players in the league individually make more than that. 4 Astros make more than that. Altuve and Bregman and Hader and Verlander. And the Tigers swept them in Houston. I mean, This guy is working with kite string and tin cans, and some of this has to be managing.
He's working also with the Cy Young Award winner, because Skubal went 18-4 with a 2.39 ERA. And they traded away Jack Flaherty, so it's not like they were all in going for it. They got hot in the middle of August and stayed that way long enough to get in, Tony. And yes, I'd rather focus on Detroit winning as well. By the way, I just love the fact that there could be 4 Midwestern teams, could be Brewers, Tigers, Cleveland Guardians, and the Royals. Pretty cool for some of us. But, no, Tony, I'm going to focus on the Tigers, but I'm not going to say he's doing it with shoestring when he's got an ace. And you know what starting pitching means in October, even though it's not what it was in the, for 120 years of baseball. But to end Houston's run, there were 4 World Series trips and 7 times, as we said, the ALCS. I think that's great. And the Tigers doing it without Cabrera, without Javi Baez. They have no stars. I looked yesterday's game. I'm like, who are these people? I have no idea who they are. Got to learn in October. Except Skubal.
Other than Skubal, they are unknown people, which is why I'm saying he's doing it with kite string and tin cans. The Padres eliminated the Braves last night. This was the least competitive of the wild card series. San Diego won game 1 4-0. They won last night 5-4, but they took a 5-1 lead after 2 innings. The Padres now move on to play the Dodgers in a Southern California special. Manny Machado said, quote, "This is what everybody wanted." Wilbon, could this be the most anticipated series of the entire postseason?
You know, you don't need to ask me that. I started telling you when they ended the regular season against each other. What do you want to watch? I told you what I was going to watch, and I did, even on East Coast time. So, yes, I want to see this. The Padres are 8-5 against the Dodgers this year. The only lineup, Tony, to me out there that can come close to a lineup that starts for the Dodgers with Ohtani, Betts, Hernandez, and Freeman, and you get down to, Muncy, and who knows who else is going to be in there, Will Smith, Edman. The only lineup that matches that or is better than that is a rise, now a 3-time batting champion, Tatis, Profar, Machado, Jackson, Merrill, Bogarts, Solano. Are you kidding me, Cronenworth? That is real explosive power hitting and average. I mean, you've got every element in those 2 lineups. Can't wait to see that. And, the Dodgers might be a little short on pitching, so no Kershaw.
Okay. So it's geographically myopic, but there's a lot of stars. It's an easy sell to anybody. I'm glad Machado said this is what everybody wanted, because I don't think the Braves wanted it, just to name one team that didn't want it. But if you asked me what is the most anticipated series in the postseason, it's not this for me. The most anticipated series for me would be the greatest rivalry in the history of the World Series, the Yankees and the Dodgers.
I get that.
Because that's Reggie Jackson hitting 3 home runs. That's Don Larson with a perfect day.
We're not that far yet. We're not there yet.
Well, no, I'm looking down the road. You want to see this? I want to see that. Because who's the great? The Padres have nothing to match that. The Padres have been to 1 World Series and didn't win it. Yeah. The greatest Padre ever is Tony Gwynn. Who's the second greatest? Who cares? It doesn't matter. I want to see the Dodgers and the Yankees. That's what I want to see. That's what I anticipate. Just me.
Only the Mets and Brewers will play a 3rd wild card game. Jackson Chourio hit 2 home runs last night. Brewers topped the Mets to even that series at a game apiece. Tone, would you rather see, how loaded a question is this for you, the Mets or the Brewers advance to the next round?
All right, so obviously I'm the wrong guy to ask. I started rooting for the Mets when they came into the league in 1962.
And that's fair.
I was at Shea Stadium when they went into the first place for the first time. It was a doubleheader. They beat Montreal. It was September of 1969. Nolan Ryan won one of those games. I'm a Nationals fan now. I grant you that because I lived in Washington for 45 years. But I have a soft spot in my heart for the Mets. I got this, Wilbon. I got this.
Look at that.
Right? I got this. That's the Tom Seaver
jacket. Did you take that off the locker room floor from Tom Seaver? Did you?
That's the Tom Seaver jacket. So I got that.
That's
impressive. I got nothing against Milwaukee. Yeah. That's a fine franchise, but this is the team of my youth. So that's what I want to see. Sure.
Wow. That jacket has floored me. By the way, it's hysterical that you mentioned myopic because it's San Diego and the Dodgers, but you don't call Philly, New York, Boston, and all of that I-95 garbage, which is about the same geographic space. You don't call that myopic.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
San Diego's 2-hour drive. Boston's not a 2-hour drive from New York. Come on, stop
4-hour train
Stop.
ride. 27 hours of traffic from San Diego to L.A.
Coming up, how should defenses go about playing Jaden Daniels? We're going to ask Booger McFarland, look at this jacket.
We'll also ask him what we should be expecting tonight from that Buccaneers-Falcons game. And for you to switch to the Nationals, it is so gutless and so without pride. It's prideless. Look at this. And you switched to another team.
Look at this.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by... Welcome back to Pardon the Interruption, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, part of Happy Hour.
Week 5 of the NFL season kicks off tonight, which makes it a perfect time for a visit from our great friend, ESPN NFL and college football analyst, Wilbur McFarland, wearing a shirt today, Wilbon, from the San Francisco Golf Club, where I have played. It is a fabulous
2 rounds there.
You've been there
Unbelievable.
Too? Oh, fabulous course. All right, Booger, let's start with this. I understand it's a small sample size, but Jaden Daniels has completed 82% of his passes over 4 games and nearly 89% over the last 2. So from a defensive perspective, why do you think he's been more accurate at this point than any quarterback ever?
Well, I think it has a little bit to do with familiarity. Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, is running a similar system that Jaden ran under Mike Denbrock at LSU. So there's a lot of carryover. He's in the shotgun. He's running some of the same plays. And on top of that, you got to give Jaden Daniels a lot of credit. Of all the rookies that's come into this league over the last 5 or 6 years, I don't think any have been more prepared than Jaden Daniels. He started 55 games at the collegiate level. 55. That's a lot of football. And we all know once you do something on the job, training, a time on task, you continue to do it over and over and over. What happens? You become way more comfortable. So I think we're seeing a case where this young man is mature. He's comfortable. He understands what his job is, which is to distribute the football to the playmakers. And I think he's playing at a pace that fits him. You can't speed him up. And I think he's only going to get better and better, guys. I've been amazed at him. I've been amazed at his growth from LSU to now, and I think we're going to continue to be amazed at his growth from now on into the future.
Well, let's stay with LSU quarterbacks who come into the league relatively recently, booked. Joe Burrow says he's going to have to be near perfect to beat the Ravens this weekend. What does that need to look like, being near perfect against that Ravens defense?
He's got to score a lot of points. Like, that's the biggest deal, because he realizes his defense under defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo is not the same. They've lost some guys up front. They lost a couple of guys on the back end. And so the defense that we're used to seeing from Cincinnati being very opportunistic, if they don't get the pass rush from Hendrickson and Hubbard, their defensive ends, then they're kind of left out to dry on the back end. And so I think Joe Burrow understands that. He understands the battle that he's walking into. His defense has to be able to play adequate enough to give the offense an opportunity to be at full strength. And they're going to have to score a lot of points. That means T. Higgins. That means Jamar Chase. That means Joe Burrow. They're going to have to put up 25, 30, 35 points on Baltimore. And more than that, Mike, control the clock. Keep that defense off the field. And I think Joe understands the type of battle that he's walking into. He's just got to go out and perform now.
You know we can't get through a segment with you without bringing up Aaron Rodgers, whether we want to or not. The Vikings are the surprise team in the league at 4-0, and they are so good at disguising defenses, but Aaron Rodgers has been, great at deciphering defenses, particularly the Minnesota defense, years in doing so. So who do you think has the edge in this game coming up between the Vikings defense and Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think the Vikings defense has the edge, Mike, and I'm going to put this right in your wheelhouse from a basketball standpoint. Imagine if you're playing a basketball team that all they run is the pick and roll. Like, you know exactly what's coming. You know how to defend it. Now, juxtapose that to the Golden State Warriors that are running that motion offense where you don't know where the ball's going, everybody's cutting, everybody's moving. They're more difficult to defend. And when you look at the Vikings, they're like that Golden State offense. Like, there are multiple guys are coming from everywhere. You don't know who's coming. You don't know when they're coming. And I think Aaron Rodgers, from an offensive standpoint, they just run the old standard pick and roll. Like, it's just pick, we're going to roll, here we go. And it's easy to defend. I think if you're the Jets, You got to run more motion. You got to do more pre-snap movement to allow Aaron Rodgers an opportunity. Because if you don't give Aaron Rodgers some clues against this Brian Flores-led defense of Minnesota, it's going to be a long day for the Jets. And everybody in New York, they're going to be on the back page come Monday, and everybody in New York is going to be really, really upset.
That would make me so happy. I would be thrilled at that.
I know it would.
Wilbon, of course, hates the Jets and hates Aaron Rodgers and hates the Mets and hates everybody in New York. And let's move on. We'll get you out of here in this. The Buccaneers, who you played for, and the Falcons play tonight. What are you going to be watching for in the Thursday night game?
Well, I'm going to look at Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins has got to be comfortable in order to move the football down the field. And so can defensive coordinator, head coach Ty Bowles of the Buccaneers, who calls the plays, can he make Kirk Cousins uncomfortable? Because anytime Kirk gets uncomfortable, that's when those interceptions come. That's when big game Kirk, or lack thereof, shows up where he throws the ball up for grabs. So it's all about the Buccaneer defense tonight. It's all about them making Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. I've been in the Mercedes Dome. I played in the old Georgia Dome, but this place, the Mercedes-Benz Dome, it's rocking. They're going to have that DJ. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. But if you're Kirk Cousins, you have to get comfortable. And if you're Ty Bowles, you got to make him uncomfortable. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think the Bucs are the best team in the NFC South, and that's because of that defense, which has to show up, and because of Baker Mayfield, who all of a sudden, with Sam Darnold, we've seen a resurgence of a couple of quarterbacks who teams threw away, and now Baker and Sam Darnold are starting to play like NFL caliber quarterbacks.
Thank you, Booger, as always.
Thank
Pleasure
you, sir.
to have you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Glad to be on with you.
Let's take one last break, but still to come, Lionel Messi delivers again and again for Inter Miami.
And is Luka Doncic's latest injury a big deal? A little early for NBA injury updates.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by the refreshing taste of Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 93rd birthday, Glenn Hall. History lesson, kids. The Hall of Fame goalie played 18 years in the NHL with Detroit, Chicago, and St. Louis. Hall was the goalie, with teammates like Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita, who delivered the Stanley Cup to the Blackhawks in 1961.
Yes, sir.
And Hall was the goalie who Bobby Orr beat on that famous flying goal to win the Stanley Cup in 1970 when Hall was with the Blues. Hall once played 502 consecutive complete games, plus 50 straight playoff games between 1955 and 1962. Hall was selected first-team All-NHL 7 times, won the Vezina Trophy 3 times. He's one of the NHL's 100 greatest players. Wilbon, after that 61 Cup, your Blackhawks didn't win another until 2010.
Yeah, and part of it, we had to give up Glenn Hall. I wonder if we had to give up in the expansion draft. But anyway, we lost in 71 and 73 in the finals to Montreal. But a guy who eventually succeeded Glenn Hall, Tony Esposito, had a pretty good career himself, Tony, and got the Blackhawks to those 71 finals. Lost in Game 7, though. Broke my heart.
Happy anniversary, Clayton Kershaw. On this day 11 years ago, the Dodgers ace mowed down a dozen Braves, gave up only 1 run in 7 innings of a 6-1 Game 1 win in the NLDS. Kershaw is still not ruling out the possibility of pitching in this year's playoffs, although lingering pain in his left big toe has placed him in what Dave Roberts described as a holding pattern. Kershaw has been out since August 30th with his toe problem and pitched just 30 innings all season. As it stands now, the Dodgers will likely go into the NLDS with a rotation of Jack Flaherty, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Walker Buehler, and rookie Landon Knack.
Tony, how many glamorous starting pitchers, starting pitchers are there left in baseball? Kershaw's at the top of the list, and now we don't get to have him. I mean, I'm glad there's guys like Skubal, thank God, but I mean, Kershaw, you want to see Kershaw pitch, and it's a blow to October baseball that we don't get to see him.
Sure. Kershaw, Verlander, Scherzer, top of the list.
Both of them, yeah.
Happy trails to last night's game for the Columbus Crew. Inter Miami clinched Major League Soccer's regular season title last night by beating the Columbus Crew behind 2 goals from Lionel Messi. His first came off a long pass in the 45th minute, and the second came on a set piece just moments later. The win earned Inter Miami something called the Supporters' Shield. And they'll now have home field throughout the playoffs as they play for the MLS Cup. Messi now has 5 goals in 5 games since returning from injury, because he's the best player.
I like those uniforms better. The pink ones get on my nerves. I know the marketers did a great job with that, but I like the blue ones.
Pink ones are Pepto-Bismol pink. I like that. Big finish. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Devontae Adams, not expected to play Sunday against the Broncos due to a hamstring injury. Really? Your thoughts?
He's not playing because they're trying to work out the trade details with somebody. The Athletic reports the Marlins had let go of 70 staffers, Tone, with more possible. That's awful. Does that make sense to you?
The franchise is a wreck. Nobody goes to their games. It's a wreck. Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks is official. Is that a big deal?
Huge deal. The Knicks, along with the Celtics, maybe Oklahoma City, those are the best starting fives to me in basketball, Tone. Now that Karl Anthony Towns is over there. Luka Doncic out for at least a week with a left calf contusion. Concerning?
No, not in October. This thing goes from October to June. No, don't worry about that now. Last one. Today is the first of 55 consecutive days with at least one NFL or college football game. I'll bet you're excited. You should be.
No, I'm not. There's too many college football games in the middle of the week. Too many. It's October Classic time. It's time for baseball. Get off the stage and wait. Except they won't.
We're sports writers. We should live for sports. We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. SportsCenter's coming up. I'm going to a game Saturday. Confine yourselves to
Miami
Saturday.
Uniforms are black and...
A bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon. Which star needs to come up biggest tonight?
Biggest? Well, if we're talking about Milwaukee, it better be somebody other than a star. Because I don't know if they have a star. Churio is 20 years old. Don't put that pressure on him. Not a star yet. The star they got, Christian Yelich, not there. Injured out all year. Okay. Adames, not a star. He's going to have to come up big for them. William Contreras, his brother has been a semi-star when he was at the Cubs when they were winning, but William is not a star. So I'm going to go to the Mets. And the Mets have a plate of possible stars. Starling Marte, J.D. Martinez is a 290 postseason hitter with a bunch of teams. Pete Alonso, Jose Iglesias, who's been around, but the answer is Lindor. Because Lindor has been a .310 hitter in an entire postseason 2016 when the Cleveland then Indians got to the World Series. He had 296 in that World Series, 368 in the American League Championship Series. The answer for a guy who you could argue as National League MVP is Mr. Frankie Lindor. Thank you very much.
Okay, you can't argue he's National League MVP. Ohtani is National League MVP. It's like you also can't argue that an equal or better shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr., you can't argue he's the American League MVP, though he has fabulous credentials, because Aaron Judge is the American League MVP. And we both understand this. I cannot be objective about this question. I cannot even be rational about this question. When the Mets started in 1962, I was a Mets fan a million years ago. I was in Shea Stadium when they went into first place for the first time ever after winning a doubleheader against Montreal in September of 1969. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Mets all the time. And I have this jacket. This is a Mets jacket.
Whose jacket?
Kevin L., would you like this jacket? Cannot have this jacket. You can rent the jacket if you sit in front of a TV, but you cannot have it. It's my jacket.
Is there a 41 on the sleeve? Is there a 41?
No, it's not. It's not Seaver's jacket.
Oh.
It's the jacket Seaver wore.
Oh.
It's a Seaver jacket, but it's not Seaver's jacket. But as you know, I have Nolan Ryan's Astros jacket.
Yes, I know.
And you cannot have it. You cannot have that either.
Stole it from Tom Seaver. Now you don't want to admit it. You know, you could have taken Kuzma's jacket. That would have been pretty cool, too. That's it. We're done. Back to you.
We asked if we want the jacket.
On your life.
I have a 3-year-old that's still learning his potty training, so he misses a lot. So a mop. Yes.
Not on your life.
It all